Hey, Flowmies, it's time for another edition of the ITF Flowcast. And this week we get to interview Dan Rinard. He's out of New Hampshire. If you've been in ITF anytime, you've seen his posts or his comments. He's just such a neat guy. I got to meet him at one of the IWCA conventions. And that's why I really want to interview him, so you could get to kind of know what type of person he is. He's a very loving and giving person. And that's what we get to talk about his philosophies for business, but also how he keeps the division between the business and the family life, and also what his goals are, that his business is more than just a moneymaker for himself, but he views it as a vehicle to be able to help others. Anyways, just a great guy, really encouraging interview. I know you're going to enjoy it. So thanks a lot and listen in. Hey, Flowmies, it's time for another edition of the ITF Flowcast. We are so happy to have Mr. Dan Rinard here with us. How you doing, Dan?
Hi, guys. I am well, sir. How are you, friend?
I am doing well. We were just talking about the IWCA convention. We're excited to go. I know you yourself could you please pull up the medal here? We have
yeah, there you go.
Third place finisher of the speed competition for the IWCA relay there. So that was pretty cool.
I want to thank Jeremiah Hickey for staying out of the competition this year and giving it.
No kidding. Yeah. Jeff didn't go. Did Jeff go last year?
Yeah, Jeff and Megan were there last year.
Oh, okay. So did he compete?
I don't think he did. I don't think
remember.
Jeff did. He was probably there giving us some tips and tricks as well.
Yeah, he probably was. But anyways, I'm looking forward. Like I was mentioning, I got my ticket, I got my room, I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting till the last minute there to make sure everything's at least doesn't get super bad, before I go. I have a mom I care for who I have to be careful with, but I really did miss seeing everybody last year, and I know you guys had a good time with. IWC did a great job of last minute putting something together. You mentioned, and that's really hard to do. So now that they have the full planning in a year and ahead, that they got their ability to plan ahead and get ready for any of the complications that come with having this many people during the pandemic. Looking forward to being there and seeing getting all the benefits. But I did want to have you on just because, one, I met you at the IWCA convention. We had, of course, communicated in ITF, but to spend some time with you was really cool. We got to do a charity clean. We got to work together on the Ronald McDonald House, which was super awesome. And then we got to do a little dinner together. So, man, it was just really great. But you're just one of those people I am drawn to naturally. One who window cleaner for years, just a nice, friendly person and considerate, but two, also has lived a life of giving to others. And those qualities all really, I'm drawn to people like that. So I wanted all of us to get to know you a little better. But why don't we first start by talking about how you got into window cleaning? What was your origin? How did you, was this something, a family thing? Was this something you fell into, or how'd you come about?
Yeah, well, thank you, Gabe, for those nice compliments. I concur with you. I tend to like to avoid drama. I like people that can have respect for each other, regardless of what our backgrounds are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That in a country that's so divided in so many ways, that our group that you and a few others started and got going has blossomed into something really cool that I found community in it.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, we all want to be respected. We all want to be loved. We all want to have community. And I think that's really important about what you guys are doing here at Into the Flow. And I feel that brotherhood and sisterhood.
Just to touch on that and to add to your point, when this whole pandemic came and everyone's picking sides and everyone has their strong opinions on it, and I have my strong opinions on it, certainly. I kind of came to the decision that rather than add to the division, I'm going to ask myself, who can I help that's in front of me? Who is the person that is directly in front of me? They may not have what I believe. They may not have, my same opinions or views on the matter. But because we are all in the same pandemic, we all still have difficulty and we all still have problems. So what can I do to help that person? What need do they
experience, right?
Yeah.
And I think that even politically, when you really get down to brass tacks, we all love our family, right?
Mhm.
And we all love our country, and we all want what's best for our family and what's best for our country. So whether it's talking about something, with a pandemic, or whether it's something political, at the end of the day, I think that most of us have more things in common than
Yeah.
we have that are, divisive. But
Mhm.
that usually isn't. That usually doesn't run headlines on news cycles, right?
Exactly.
But I think
Exactly.
I think we all have shared common interests, and I think there's more common ground than not. It's
Yeah.
just the
I-
other things tend to get more press.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, with the media, the humanity tends to get lost, and I think that's something that we can never lose sight on, because everyone is going through something difficult. So if we can just be a part of that, where who are we helping, and here's this person that I have this opportunity, I've got time in front of them. Can I be encouraging to them? Can I listen to them? Can I hear what they're trying to say? And then, like you said, then it just helps that day go a little better, and sometimes it's
Yeah,
just a little thing like that. Sometimes it's something big and something practical, where you find out they have a need, and now it's either you're in a position to fulfill it, or you're in a position to help have others help fulfill it, because that all comes back, right? That's all circular. And if you can get more people doing that and helping others, then it just, it makes everything a little bit easier to deal with. And that's definitely the foundation that ITF was built on, was just looking for how we can help that sense of community build within our industry. And I think
and
we're doing a good
ideally,
job.
isn't it better to leave the world better because we existed in it?
Hmm.
So you're right. It's just about sharing that compassion, because like you
Yeah.
said, everybody's going through something. Everybody is bearing a cross,
Yeah.
uh, and oftentimes, you know, uh, what we present online doesn't always give the full story of what everybody's
Mm-mm.
going through. And
No, certainly
so
doesn't.
I think if we can just deal with each other with a little more grace,
Yeah.
and and some love and compassion, even when people blow up at us, because our natural lower
Yeah.
nature is to strike back and defend,
That's right.
right?
Eh,
But if
eh,
we can think about the fact that this person that's just lashed out at me probably is carrying a pretty heavy load right now that I know nothing of, and sometimes you just have to be a sounding board. Sometimes you
yeah.
have to just do this, listen, let it hit you, but don't absorb it. Let
Yeah.
it hit you, let it roll off, because that person, they're probably going to feel badly about it afterwards anyway. But you just
Yeah.
never know what people are dealing with in life.
9 times out of 10, that's the case. It's just, but any of us, right? If we have a big open gash on our arm, if someone touches that gash, we're going to yell. We're going to yelp. It's just that. And so we, like you said, we don't know what wounds people carry, and what things that they're dealing with, what pressures they're facing. And so, yeah, sometimes people are going to lash out at us. I get it. I get the tendency to want to react to something like that. But if you can, I've learned over the years to not take too many things personal, and sometimes people will lash out at me, and I just, okay, and I just back off, and don't worry about it. And like you said, 9 out of 10 times they come and just say, "Oh, Gabe, I'm so sorry I reacted that way. Oh, I feel terrible." And then now it gives us an opportunity. I forgive them, and now that strengthens our bond that we have
It
together.
does. Yeah.
And now we're closer. Now we know each other a little better, and we may never be best friends, but now at least we have a good rapport with each other. And yeah, I mean, that's all part of that, getting through things, right? Is just having that ability, that willingness to forgive others, because you're going to have to be forgiven for something you
Yes.
did when
You've
you're
been
under
forgiven much,
pressure.
right? To those who have been forgiven much,
Yeah.
you're going to have to show that forgiveness as well, right?
Yeah.
Forgive us our trespasses,
Right.
who trespass against us. We really want our trespasses forgiven. Let's just be truthful. We really don't want to forgive those other people because they've got it coming, right? So that's a life work. That really
Yeah.
is. That's not something 20-year-old me, had
Yeah.
nailed down. And now at 48, I still
Mhm.
don't have it nailed down, but I'm a lot closer than
Yeah. Yeah.
20-year-old me, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
the ability to just, you know, whether they ask or not, just
Mhm.
offer forgiveness, you
Well,
know?
and I think in our industry, because we are male dominated, and there's just, I don't think just window clean, but any kind of contractor where you've got a bunch of professionals who are good at what they do, there's going to be heads at butt, and there's going to be egos involved. There's going to be people who are trying to, have that alpha male mentality of trying to get up to the top. And ITF does a really good job of kind of sifting through that, and those who really want the drama and really want the self promotion, they don't stay, they leave, and they stay where they get what they want. But those who do stay, and we have many who perhaps in other groups might have that mentality, but they are very respectful of the environment that we've created here. And I think what that does is, there's some I'm thinking of right now who they contribute, they don't contribute often, but when they do, it's really meaningful, it's really helpful and insightful. And they do it in a way that shows respect to how we run things in this group, even though maybe their tendency might be a little different. But it kind of brings out that helpfulness, in a way, because just by virtue of having those lines drawn as to what's tolerated and what's not, and it allows them to work within those parameters if they're willing. Some are not, and that's okay. We're not saying everybody's got to be a part of ITF, but those who stay and respect the rules. I get impressed with some of these posts from these individuals who in other groups I probably didn't have as much respect just because of the way they responded to people. But then hearing them, like, man, they are really insightful. That was a really good answer to some question that they gave,
There's some depth to the well, right?
Yeah, there's some depth. Exactly. But that's also the humanity, right? Because that's where my fault is to look at someone who may respond in a way negatively and make judgments on them. But then you see them in a different light and you're like, wow, I was totally off base on that judgment, right? That's a lesson that I continually learn when it comes to all these different people that I meet, is learning to identify where their strengths are and then try to help them enhance those strengths, if it's within my power or within my ability. But it's just, I think it's window cleaning has brought me into contact with so many different people that I never would have, in different types. And it's just really, it's neat and humbling to be able to learn from them and to see, rather than focusing on myself, promotion, self-promotion, I'm this, I'm that, but just taking some time to listen and to observe. It's changed my business, the way I run my business, and it really has just given me a lot of respect for people that I never would have given a second thought to, otherwise.
Yeah. And when you listen, people feel valued and respected. And it goes back to the old saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right?
Yeah.
You can be talking ad nauseum about the depth of knowledge you have on glass restoration and how glass is made, blah, 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 all this stuff. But until someone feels heard and valued, they might not receive some of the things that you would like to share with them too. So it's the power of observation and just giving value to another person when you're with them. I agree. Absolutely. Whenever I went to IWCA for the first time, scared to death. Just because, I show up and like all these guys are all chummy, buddy.
Right.
They've known each other for how many decades of going to these conventions. And this was my first time there. And I remember finding a group of like-minded people in the industry, but also just with a value system. There were three other fellows there. Boy, we had a really, really impactful time on it with each other. And that was really special. So it's
what year was that?
That was 2016, I believe it was.
Okay.
My first one was in Scottsdale.
Okay. Yeah, that was my first one too. Although I didn't go to any of I just went to the trade show.
Okay.
I drove up from Tucson since it was so close, and I just bought tickets for the trade. So walked in, looked around, didn't know anybody, no one knew me. I just felt like I was walking around in a mall. Didn't buy nothing. Came back home. My wife was like, "How was it?" I was like, I guess it was okay. I saw a bunch of squeegees. Didn't buy nothing, so that was interesting.
So now I go back each year and I look forward to certain people of like, oh yeah, I get to see these people and catch up again. And I try to also be mindful that there's probably another Dan Rinard out there somewhere floating around that's this first year there. So it's nice that they give out those first year tag things so that you can recognize that person, include them, make them feel welcome as well. Because it's tough being the new guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I just totally felt. Of course, at the time, when I went, it was the same year as 2016. I was just starting to grow. So my business, I had been single owner operator since 2000. All the way up until about 2013. I think was when I hired my first guy, and then even then I backed off right after I hired him. I think he quit, and I was like, I didn't hire for a little bit, and then I hired again, and I kept like kind of dipping my toe into getting bigger. And we had my daughter. That was the whole reason. That was the whole. If I hadn't had my daughter, I would still be a single owner operator. But we had her. There's a lot more expenses that came. Her health, nothing super dangerous, but it was concerning. We had to have some surgeries. We had to have a lot of doctors visits. So I was like, I can't support the family off of what I'm making here. So I had to grow the business. And getting back to meeting people, like you said, it wasn't that one. The first one, I didn't meet nobody. I think it was San Diego is where I met two people, Michael Draper and Fernando Medina, who's one of the mods, with at ITF. And I met a bunch of other people in that one, but those are the two that I remembered. And Nando, just like I said, getting to know people better. At first, he came off very brash. He was just he just kind of was out there. He had guys with him, and he was just real like, I own this place, And so just at first sight, I didn't really, right? Not even intimidating, just
the same uniforms, and it appeared very intimidating. Like, what am I doing?
He just wasn't my cup of tea at first, just from what I was already judging him to be, And then we were in the same. It was the Sunbelt training class. And so we got certified together, and he sat next to me, and we just talked, and I got to know him, and I was like, man, actually, this guy's pretty cool. This guy actually is pretty down to earth, and we had a good conversation, and he was, next time you're in California, come visit me, this and that, but then we ended up following each other on Facebook after that. And then we, got into ITF together. And then after that, now we're, we know each other really well, and we work together so often with ITF and other things. And now he's in the IWCA, he's on the board. And so we're even having more dealings with him. And so he's definitely a friend that I would not have made had I had that attitude of, I'm better than him, or I'm, where I would have been trying to compare my skills or my business with his. We never would have become a friendship. I had a friendship.
That's the danger, is, and it's natural. No matter what industry you're in, it's just a natural thing. A comparison.
Yeah.
I'm from New Hampshire. For some people, it's a little tiny state next to Maine.
It's a little box there.
Yeah, it's a little tiny, little pizza shaped, little small state right next to Maine. We're geographically, we're an hour north of Boston.
Okay.
So we can be in the city.
Just an hour away, man.
Yep. We can be in the city pretty fast. I can usually be on the mountain skiing in 45 minutes, and I can be at the beach in 30 minutes. So
wow.
We've got the lakes region that I can be there in about 20 minutes, so we got lakes and the mountains, we got the ocean, we got the city, all within an hour's drive, so it's a really cool place to be. But when I went to the first, comparison, my general service area is the seacoast of New Hampshire, southern Maine, kind of a little bit into Massachusetts, but mostly the seacoast of New Hampshire. So, the general area might be like Portsmouth, New Hampshire, or along I-95. You might have, 30 or 40,000 people that reside there, right? And so it's important not to get pulled into the fact that someone who is servicing New York City or Philadelphia or Boston or a major city, and they've got like a warehouse and they've got 10 trucks or 12 or 15 trucks on the road, like, what am I doing wrong? Well, that's even a ministry. I was a youth minister for a while, and you look at certain churches. Why do certain churches only have 25 people in it? And why are there churches with 5,000 or 10,000 people in it? Well, these places are often in major, metropolitan areas. So you should be growing and scaling according to your base as well. So comparing usually leaves one feeling defeated. So the best
well, and often both
to applaud people when they're succeeding.
Often both of them are depressed, because we're always comparing the thing that we feel more insecure about with the other person's, what they're excelling at, and they're sometimes doing the same thing, to us. They're looking at us and saying, oh, I wish this, and that's just the human tendency, so it doesn't help anything. It doesn't do any good really to compare, unless you're asking them specifically how you can be better in a certain thing. That's different. Now you're asking for instruction.
And appreciating their accomplishments, and like, maybe this person can help me get to my next stage of growth.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
and it takes time to get there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I did meet one of the newbies. I said there were like 4 newbies at my first IWCA. One of those gentlemen gave me his airline points and flew me out to Colorado.
Wow.
I'd never been to Colorado. He flew me out to Colorado, let me stay with him and his wife, and we went skiing and went to I got to meet some of his people, and that was just after one connection at an IWCA. I'm like, the brotherhood that exists when there's not that spirit of fighting and competing and egos, but when you're open-handed and like just welcoming, it's amazing that even just one person, my first connection, here's a guy that I got to go ski Breckenridge, and like, it was a dream come true.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So that was pretty cool. But
well, we got off track, as that often happens, but that's okay, because that's what we're all about here. It's just getting to know you better. The most
important things that we're talking about, right, is the stuff of life.
Absolutely.
Window cleaning. Like, I can say, here's my squeegee that I use, or this is the kind of towel that's the best. But at the end of the day, we do what works in our company, right? So
absolutely.
But how did I get started? I feel like I think there was a Johnny Cash song that said something about I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. I was a mason's tender at one point. I went to trade school to be I took carpentry and cabinet making.
No kidding.
So I spent some time in the carpentry field for a while. I thought when I graduated high school that's what I was going to do. I was a volunteer firefighter at the time, and I was planning on working carpentry for a while, and I did. I got into that, and in high school I was waiting tables, and between college I was like a fry cook. It's like I've had experience in a lot of different industries, a lot of different life skills, if you will. And I felt the call to go into ministry. So whenever I was out of high school for about a year, and then I went to Bible college and finished that up and got my diploma, and became a youth minister for about 6 years. I was in youth ministry, and those were some really good times. As hanging out with teenagers. We started a youth group in this little small town called Milton, New Hampshire. It was a little cow town. It was just, we'd get people from out of state come. There's some lakes there, so they would come and on the weekend and play on the lake and then go home. But really, as far as the town goes, there wasn't much cooking. And we started the youth group there with 4 teenagers, and when we left, there was over 60 strong.
Wow.
Every week, and there were 17 schools represented. So I got to go into out of all 17 schools, all but 2 said that I could come in and have lunch with our students. So that was a lot of fun to go into schools and hang out and eat lunch with their students. So whenever I stopped doing that, I had my trade to fall back on. So I went back into carpentry and cabinet making, and but I was working in a manufactured home facility.
Okay.
And I was pulling 12-hour shifts there. I was working a lot of times from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m., working super hard. and doing my best, and wasn't getting compensated a lot. And I would watch them fire good guys and promote like knuckleheads. And I'm like, oh, what the what's going on here? And while I was there, this was 1998, 99, I guess, probably around that time. I was reading a book that I saw on the Oprah Winfrey show, and the book was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I got home in time to see Oprah. I went to work early, but I got home, early. And Robert Kiyosaki was on there, and there was, and I am a person that if I sit down to read, I fall asleep.
Oh, okay.
It's not for lack of wanting.
Right.
Or I gather my knowledge in other ways, right? If I sit down to read, I fall asleep. So I was reading this guy's book on all my lunch breaks and everything at work. And whenever I got home, anytime I couldn't put the book down. Because I was raised, I wasn't wealthy. I know what government cheese tastes like. I qualified for the free lunch program.
Quesadillas, man. Quesadillas all day.
Yeah, I know. I know what I couldn't drink real milk after we got off. After I got out of the system, because I didn't you have powder and you add water to it, and now you've got milk for your cereal. And like to drink real milk after that, I was like, what is this gross stuff? I guess you get used to that government stuff, But my dad was a very hardworking man. He supported a family of 6 of us on a manufacturer's salary. He just worked an assembly line all of his life. He was a hardworking and a good man. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she definitely could make a dollar stretch. I've never seen anyone handle money quite like my mom. My dad would just sign his check over. She would cash it and put it in envelopes for giving and for bills or whatever. And then when the time came, I guess she put it in the bank and then wrote out a check. It was her way of doing it, but she did very well. We didn't go beyond our means, but so the struggle was there. So when I'm reading this book, I'm relating to this guy that says my friend was poor. His dad, but his dad was educated, right? And said, you got to go and, you got to get all these degrees and you'll be successful and stuff. And this other guy saying, well, you can invent something, or there's another way of doing it. And I'm sitting there and I'm just taken in this book of new thoughts now starting to process. I remember my dad not too many years ago, even as an old man, when I would go down to visit my parents, we went to this fancy store at the end of town that sold wines and cheeses and and we bought some stuff to bring up to the house, and because it didn't come from the local discount grocery store, he's like, what are you doing? It's like, well, I thought I'd buy some nice things and bring over to you. And he said, quote, we are poor. We have always been poor, and we will always be poor.
Oh,
that was his statement to me. And I was like, huh, all right. But that was just recently. This was after I'd started my business and everything else. I remember telling Dad whenever he was at his last manufacturing job, I said, Dad, if you put a carport on the side of your house, everybody in town loved my dad's detail work. He would detail people's cars for him. I said, Dad, you could get a little side hustle. You could get something going here. And no, his dream job was this place in town. And then that place shut down and moved out of town. But that book, I was really, thinking like, if you do this, then this will happen, right? If you work hard for somebody and you do a good job, you will be promoted. And I was at this carpentry job looking around saying, this isn't the case. This isn't the case. So I thought, what if I worked hard for myself? What if I put all my ethics and all my hard work for myself? I was a happy employee. I enjoyed being an employee, but then when I'm looking around and inequities happening, I'm like, wow, So my brother-in-law, I remember I was at a Christmas gathering, and my brother-in-law, I don't know if he was given a window cleaning business or if he bought in pretty low, but he had this window cleaning business out in the western part of the state. He kept bragging about, oh, I'm doing so well. I'm making all this money on window cleaning. I'm like, what? You can make money cleaning windows? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
I understand people can make money hanging off of buildings and cleaning windows in a city, but is that really a career? And so I'm like, well, you know what? Here's something that a lot of people don't like to do it. They don't have time to do it. And so if I do it well, maybe this could be something. And if I fail, I haven't bought the farm. It's not like I went out and started a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
I had a squeegee, an applicator, a bucket, and a ladder.
Yeah.
Because how much risk am I going to put my family through to start a business?
Yep.
So I went out and I spent one day with my brother-in-law. I was the slowest soap man around. I remember thinking how fast he was squeegeeing windows, but I was probably just super slow in detail. I had to make sure his windows look good. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we're out on a commercial route work that he does every week or every 2
Right.
weeks. Let it go, bro. You know. But I spent one day with my brother-in-law, learning how to use a squeegee and soap windows, and we bought some equipment while I was out there with him. There was a local, like a hardware store that sold some things, and I came back to the seacoast here, and I put on my dress shoes and I put on my tie and I walked the streets doing what everybody does when they start a window cleaning business, right? Mm-hmm. I went into every store and restaurant that, you know, around in 3-4 towns all around. And I had, out of 8.5 hours that day, I came away with 1 yes, 1 maybe, and 2 blisters on my feet. Walking in my dress shoes. The place was locked down. It was locked down by an old fella that had a retirement. Excuse me a second. He had a retirement pension, and so this was just his fun money, and he hadn't raised his price in 30 years.
Oh, I bet.
I started my business like you in 2000. We both started the same year. And yeah, he hadn't. So something I would come in for a storefront and say, I'm going to charge you $8 or $10 to wash this storefront window. He was at $3.
$5. Oh my God.
$4.
Oh my goodness.
I had customers that and he carried around a dirty bucket of water. It was always dirt, filthy, you know, and he had a mop handle. You can picture him.
Yep.
And I had customers that would say, no, we like the old man. I had customers that would say, we don't want our windows clean. But then I also had another set of customers that I was bidding on that would laugh at me when I came in and said, sure, we'll take your quote. And they would just laugh before I even did the quote. They knew what was up. And I'll give them a quote. There's a $10 quote. And they're like, hey, I pay $4. Maybe this isn't the right business.
So you were just bidding commercial then when you started. That's what you were shooting for.
The commercial, because it seemed like the place to get in on the ground floor, right? Is not.
And I'm asking. I was asking because that's exactly what happened to me. I did the same thing. So except I bought a few jobs from a friend. So he was a window cleaner, and he was kind of similar. So he wasn't bragging about it, but he was just saying, hey, this is something you can do, make some money, you know. And I was working at the bank, but he gave me, I don't know, it was maybe like 20 commercial accounts, you know, just $20 to $30 accounts, and nothing huge. They were just ones he was tired of doing, and he wanted to just sell and be done with, you know. And so that was my attitude of, I'm going to get all commercial. I'm going to have all these little commercial accounts and make a lot of money in a day. And of course, for me, a lot of money would have been $100, you know.
Right. Well, you look at all the storefronts. And it just looks like, oh, look at there's so much money.
There's so much money.
Right. All you got to do is go and gather it. I mean, and there was another gentleman who was in business I don't know, 15 or 20 years before when I started, who had the main city locked down near us, and everything was locked down pretty tightly. But the thing is I always kept a part-time job. And I know some people get mocked in other groups because it's your side hustle and not your real job. But really, you got to start somewhere to get somewhere. And I drove a school bus, and that was a lot of fun. I drove a school bus for a year. So I would drive the morning route. I would hustle for windows, and then I would drive the afternoon route.
I know several window cleaners. They rode school buses or drove school buses while they were building up their business. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, my wife was out for a walk one day, and I stopped traffic. The bus was empty. I was on my way back. She was out for a walk. I stopped traffic, flipped on the red lights, and said, "Hey, baby, want to ride?" She's like, "Get out of here! Get out of here!" I said, "I got traffic stopped, and I'm not going anywhere to you." I know how the ladies like it. Here we go. How to romance the wife. So yeah, she knew. I mean, like this, I was not going anywhere, so she got on the bus. I worked part-time as a maintenance facilities manager for a private Christian school because we did their windows, and the headmaster liked my work, so he asked me to work there. So I worked there for 30 hours a week the following year while still growing my business. I did want to do houses, and I was doing some houses, but it took a couple years, to really get going.
Yeah, well, it took me a long time. I mean, well, of course, I always viewed it as a side hustle. I never really viewed it, at least in the beginning, as my full time. I did always kind of want it, but I never did the things you need to do to grow it. So all of my growth for the first 10 to 12 years was organic. It was people referring me. I did have a little ad in a small community that I was doing residential in. But I always had another job, and I cleaned grease traps for 8-9 years while I was doing windows. I did the bank at first, then I quit the bank because I thought I was going to do windows. And then I soon realized windows was up and down, and sometimes I didn't have any money, and sometimes I had a lot of money. So that's when I got the other job, which was part-time, but it was still like, I mean, sometimes I did work 30 hours, usually it was like 24 to 25 hours, but sometimes I did work more. And I mean, it's night work. So my sleep schedule was just so jacked up. I mean, I was going from working in the day, then I'd take a nap and then work at the night, and then I'd sleep, and then I'd wake up and do some windows in the afternoon, and then I'd come home and take another nap, and then I'd go work. I mean, it was just, it was, and then once we had our daughter, in the beginning, it wasn't a big deal because she was little, but then soon she was missing me, and I was realizing I'm wasting time that I'm at work that I should be spending with my daughter at these years, so that's when I decided, okay, no, I need to make the windows work. I have enough loyal clientele. I need to add to it. And that's when I started taking it seriously. But yeah, I've always had something else, because
I was fortunate enough that whenever I took the leap to start my business, my wife had a good paying job at the time.
That's nice.
So that was helpful. And we didn't have our son yet. So it was an okay time to give it a try. Thankfully, by the time my wife started her own business, Squeegee Clean was already very established, and we were doing very well at that time. Good. So it was less of a risk for her. She started a skincare business.
Okay.
Esthetician. So
cool.
That was always nice that the other person had a really good income coming in when the other person stepped out, and because it's very risky. It's nerve-wracking. It's a risky thing to do.
Absolutely. And I just talked with I interviewed James Smith about his coming up into windows. If you haven't heard his interview, you'll like it a lot. But he out of desperation went to windows. He was stuck in a job where he was working way more than he should have, not being paid enough, and it was affecting his health. And it was getting to the point where he's like, I have to quit this because I'm gonna die, and he just picked windows. His wife was super supportive, and they made it work. But I need plans, I need backup. That's just my personality. I kind of, not that I can't handle uncertainty, because I can, but if
Well, you
it's
want to hedge your
something,
bets, right, and minimize
always,
the
that's
consequences.
it.
You know, a conservative investment, you know, instead of all in. And you know, you can win big or lose big, but
Mhm.
if you can have a, you know, a little something there to help protect you, I think it just is a little, it's wisdom. That's all,
Yeah.
and that's all right too.
So speaking of that, how do you balance? Because I know your family obviously is very, very important to you, as it is for most of us, but we all have kind of our different strategies for managing the family business lifestyle, you know, because obviously your business is important. It's what provides, you know, the means for you to you know, give the things your family needs, but you don't ever want to do it at the expense of hurting your family in any way, you know. So what's your strategies for finding that balance?
Well, now at the place where I am in my business, and you're probably in a similar place yourself, I'm trying to work myself out of a job,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and hire key people and treat them well, so that I can spend my life doing what I dream about doing. And that's more time with your family. That's more philanthropic things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've only got one life. We've only got so much time. We don't know how much time we have. And
Mm-hmm.
time is the most valuable thing we have. And so we've got one crack at raising our kids. That's it. You know, are you going to turn a child loose on the world that you haven't spent
Mm-hmm.
time with, given the attention and love that they need? Because, well, we all know how to work. For men, especially, I can speak. I don't know about women specifically, but I know as men, we tend to bury ourselves in work when we're stressed out. You know, we don't want to come home, or if, you know, we know how to work, right? We know how to do that well, but can we father well? Can we be a good husband? Can we be there for the people that's really counting on us?
Yeah.
So as part of that planning is like, how am I going to grow my business enough where I can spend time with my family? Or I dream a lot about what would it be like to give a $10,000 check to a charity, or, you know, a $50,000 check to a charity. How do I get there? Right?
Mhm.
How can, because when I take my last breath, somebody else is moving into my spot. They're going to take all the
Mhm.
window cleaning jobs that are around. Right? So I'm replaceable. You know, so what? How can I get to the place where what I am doing matters? See, whereas when I was in youth ministry, I felt like I'm doing something impactful and something that really matters. When I'm
Mhm.
out turning a squeegee, that isn't world changing type stuff,
Mhm.
but it can be a vehicle to do the things that can help change the world and can help
Mhm.
bless somebody and help lift somebody up that's struggling and it's going through it. So if I can feel, because the whole comparison thing is the same thing. It's like I go back to a college reunion with people and they're like, oh yeah, I'm pastoring 20 years. What are you doing? Well, I'm washing windows, right? But what I get as a window cleaner is I get to go into people's homes that I
Mhm.
would never be an invited guest otherwise,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know? And
Absolutely.
so there's opportunities to meet interesting people, and there's opportunities to also, if you're successful, then to, I can write out a $5,000 check to this charity this month, or, you know, this year. And this is one of the things that I've always struggled with, Gabe, is that push and pull of, how do I let the community know
Mhm.
that I'm a community guy and that I invest back in the community without putting up this big sign that says,
Mhm.
look what I just did.
Mhm.
Right.
And the secret to that is you have to reach out. You know, you have to contact charities. You have to say, hey, we're available. Like for instance, there's a charity we do a lot of work for, Trot. They're therapeutic writers of Arizona, or writing of Arizona, and they do therapy writing for children who, you know, have either learning disabilities or veterans who have post-traumatic stress disorder. It's therapy to help them deal with that. So like they put, you know, we follow them on Facebook, and then they do like they just different things and how people can help. So one of them is a work day, going and offering yourself to just work. So I signed up my whole crew. We're going to go do that, but
That's amazing.
that's the type of stuff that you have to be on the lookout for. If it's not on your radar, you're never going to find it. And like you said, sure, you can go on and say, hey, we're the most philanthropic business in town, where you help this, and you could do that. But honestly, you have to be the one to reach out, and you have to let them know, in person.
And for me, I have a hard time with the self-promotional aspect. It feels a little slimy, even though it's not, right?
Yeah. Dude, I'm in the same boat, same exact boat.
And want the community to know, like we love you. We're investing in these. We're giving back in these community programs that help homelessness. I don't hand money out my window to people with a sign, but I do support organizations that know who the scammers are and who the real homeless and helpless people are. And I can give time and money into those organizations that actually help to feed and clothe them or shelter them. But
my solution.
The whole thing is about the motivation of the heart when you give. It's about, do I want to be seen, or am I giving so that I can help? And I've had this conversation with my crew chief, Ben, and he's convinced me to maybe open up a little bit more about it. And I thought maybe I can allow some of my employees to have more input on how much the company gives and to where, because we always like to give to one family that's struggling, that's just, obviously we don't just limit ourselves to that, but at least one local family that's struggling. We want to invest in a couple other smaller organizations in our town or regionally. We like to do the whole, make sure you're impacting locally and globally. So this year we were able to give more than we did last year because our business had grown, and I can really see how if we keep growing and doing the right thing, our opportunity to be a blessing can grow as well, and that's something that excites me.
So here's my solution. I don't even want to say it's a solution. This is what gets me by right now. I don't know if it'll last, but this is kind of where I've been at. So there's two strategies, or at least two ways of thinking. Maybe you can call them philosophies of giving that I have. So number one is I really try to separate myself from my business. So I personally am an employee of Gabe's Spotless Window Cleaning, and I always try to recognize that. And I've done it for years of saying, oh, it's my business, or I'll do this, and I really try in my wording to change that to, oh, the business will do this, or the business will, or we will, and I try to make sure that when I'm speaking in any, not just with giving, but just in any respect, I really try to keep the business separate from who I am. So what that does is that allows the business to run promotional events and to promote giving and to do so in a philanthropic way where the business is being highlighted as opposed to me personally. And that takes a little bit of that pressure off of me of, am I doing it for self-promotion? Am I doing this to do good? It's kind of gray because I am getting promoted. Now I'm the business is what's being promoted, which is what businesses do. Businesses advertise. And if you're going to spend money in advertising, why not spend it in a way that's actually going to help other people rather than just promote the business? So that's the number one. That's what I want. The second strategy is I have two types of giving. So that is one part, but then I also have my own personal giving, and that I keep private, and that we only our family knows. It may be giving to individuals, it may be giving to organizations, it may be giving for a specific event, but that part I do, that is personal. That's between our family, those individuals, and God, right? And so if I do that now I've kind of separated, because they both have different purposes, because like you said, the promotional giving, it does inspire others to give, and it makes others aware of a situation that they may not have been aware of. Like for instance, with Trot, COVID hit them hard because their whole funding is based on teaching student and having classes, and they had to shut down for like 6 months, but they still have horses they have to feed. They still have grounds they have to maintain. They still have power, electric bills and utilities that are of the facility, and they had no students. So they were hurting really bad, but who knows about that? Who's thinking of a charity like that? So it gave us the opportunity to really promote that, hey, this place has these needs.
Yeah, put a
If anyone
spotlight
can
on it.
help, it's spotlight on it. So now, and a lot of people who just had never even heard of them was like, wow, hey, I would love to give to help facility like that, just to get through this tough time. But again, no one would know if I only gave just by myself and didn't tell anybody about it. So, and again, those are different types of charities that I put into each of those categories,
I
and
like
it takes
that.
a lot of thought. But it, and again, it works for now. I don't know if it'll always work because there's always that little itchy feeling in the back, when we're doing something, and it's just your conscience, and that's what it's there for, is to make you always reevaluate what your motives are, But
and the shopper and the end user today, more than I've seen in the past, are very socially conscious.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
they like to do business with people who give back, like the Bomba socks, right? They'll buy one, they give a pair to people in need. So, and I think that drives people's buying habits too. Sometimes is like, if they know that they're not just hiring a window cleaner, but they're hiring somebody that is a community person who cares about the community and will give back to the community. I think people are very socially conscious these days, especially with how they shop.
For sure. So, and I think that's it. It's funny. It's the ones who, like you said, the scammy people. The scammy people are shameless promoters, but they also are the ones that get seen because they are shameless promoters. So it's just learning to find that balance, of not neglecting the promotion, but also making sure you stay who you are, so you don't accidentally cross over into something that's misleading or doesn't, like you said, doesn't get used for the purpose that it's intended to. And as long as we do that, then I think we're okay with a degree of promotion, but everyone's got to do according to their own conscience, on that.
Another thought that I had as well is perhaps talk to the charitable organizations, and instead of doing something where you're on the front page of the newspaper with this giant check, is just simply say, can we display your logo on our website?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to show that we support you and we believe in your mission and what you're doing as well, and that we are engaged in this mission as well.
And
I think that might be a thought.
Yeah, the other big thing that we do to help is we give charity cleans. Just when we're slow, we have a list of our charities. We'll call them up. Hey, we're slow right now. You want me to send some guys over and do? We do the Ronald McDonald. They have a big building. We do them twice a year. It's a tax write-off. We've benefited our family personally from the Ronald McDonald House. So it's a way to kind of help an organization that helped us when we needed it, during that time. And there's several others. NAMI is also another one that we've cleaned for, the National Institute of Mental Health, or I forget exactly what the NA. Anyways, yeah, they're an organization that we feel strongly helping with some of our family members dealing with mental health issues. So, there's just different things you can do without having to, like you say, hold the big check, and put it out. So, but it's definitely the most. So before, I know we're getting close to the end of our time here that we got for you. Is there, let's get into the IWCA again real quick. What are some things that you have learned going to the conventions or just being a member of IWCA that has benefited your business and helped you get to this point where you're at, where you're striving to achieve?
When I went to IWCA, I found out, and I always knew, there are things that I don't know. I went to Bible school, not business school. So I knew that I could apply certain biblical principles that would help me be successful in business. The book of Proverbs is just full of that kind of stuff. But I also knew that because I didn't go to business school, there's still a lot of things I didn't know. Yeah. So one example is, when I started my business, it was all about phone book advertising. Yes.
Had to have that yellow page ad, even if it was just a line, you had to be in there. Yep.
Yes, you had to be. That's how people found you, was in the phone book. For those people of a certain age, you might want to go Google what a phone book is. It's not just for balancing tables and chairs, so if you had a big colorful ad, then you're obviously the dominant company, but you're right. I mean, even just having a line item in there, line ad. So, and they were very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So when I drove around, when I started my business, I carried an atlas of Maine, an atlas of New Hampshire, an atlas of Massachusetts. So I knew how to get to these jobs when people are calling for a quote.
Oh man, you're
So
bringing so many memories back.
Open my phone and take that call, flip open my atlas, find where they live, and if I needed to call somebody, I had my phone book in the back pocket of my truck as well. And that's how I ran a business. And I remember window cleaners were leaving the phone book. And the phone book lady kept telling me, hey, look, for the same price, you can get this size ad. I'm like, oh, well, let's do that. And so I was like, yeah, look at this ad. I was missing the train.
Yeah.
People were going online. And so when I went to IWCA, I didn't even know what the 3 letters SEO stood for. And my eyes were open. I'm like, I got to get online. This is where everybody's looking for people now.
Mm-hmm.
They're using search engines. Yes. And it made a lot of sense. So I learned that at IWCA. That was something that really helped me grow my business,
mm-hmm.
is to learn the importance of where are you. Here's an example. I was working so hard and so many hours that I didn't have a website. So the phone company said, we will build one for you. Wonderful. Well, they farmed it out to a company in India. I spent probably an hour on the phone one night, while I'm cleaning and telling them what we do. And they built me a website that was just basically all text.
Oh my gosh.
And the one point I wanted to get across to my customers is when we come into your house, we do not wear our outside shoes in your house. And what do you think they put on the website? When we come in your house, we wear shoes inside your house. What I was trying to, we do not drag outside mud through your house. So I met a local guy that my wife hooked me up with who built beautiful websites, and now we have a really great website. But I think I was buried, Gabe, on like page 3 or something like that. Does anyone even click to page 2?
Mm-mm.
I think I was buried at 3 or 4 somewhere. So IWCA helped me out on that side of things. It really helped me understand that here's a part of my business that I didn't know about. And so it really opened my eyes and helped.
I totally 100% agree. I didn't go to business school either. I knew how to clean windows. I didn't need to know how to, in the beginning, but as I was growing, I started recognizing that same thing. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And just the classes that they had and that I took and the training, it's just made a 180% difference or degree difference in my business. And I found out exactly how much money I was flushing down the toilet, and it hurt. And now it's redirected in the areas that need to, and then the rest is saved. And now that's been my whole goal: save, pay off debt, get to where, like you said, I work myself out of a job. That's what I want to do.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Our goal hopefully is to get our house paid off in the next year. That we have had our foot on the gas towards getting out of debt. And we don't live as sexy as a lot of people might live, but you know what? Faster we can get out of debt. The borrower is servant to the lender.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So the sooner we can unburden ourselves and unfetter ourselves. I haven't had a car payment, even with the business, for probably 3 or 4 years now.
Nice.
So we're putting money back in the trucks, making them look and run nice. And when the time's right, we'll get another vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an important part, especially when we circle back to the whole giving thing again, right?
Yeah.
Of do you want to be impactful? It's hard to be impactful when you're up to your eyeballs in debt. So if we make wise choices, then hopefully we should be able to get to where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dan, I got to have you back, buddy, because we just barely scratched the surface of stuff I want to talk with you about. So we'll have you back again soon.
I'd love
I know
that.
you got to get somewhere, so I really appreciate making the time, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully at the IWC convention. But if for some reason I can't make it, we will get together soon.
I
All right.
hope you can make it. We would love to see you. I love you, brother. And
Yeah, love you
really
too.
nice time
Tell
spending time with you.
tell Gabe hi for me, okay?
Yeah, we'll do. You better make another one of those
I
TikTok
know
videos.
I got to
Something
make
funny
another
for him,
video
'cause he
soon.
likes
I've been slacking. Tell him I'm sorry.
All right, bye.
All right, take care. And thank you, Flowmies, for listening as always. And you take care. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, flow on.